we journey to Moscow, late 1980s. The Soviet Union, once feared, vast and mighty, was beginning to crack under its own weight. For 70 years, the USSR had been a colossus stretching from the icy edges of Siberia to the warm shores of the Black Sea, ruling over more than 280 million people. But beneath the surface, cracks had begun to spread. It began with Mikhail Gorbachev, who rose to power in 1985. Unlike the stern leaders before him, he had a different vision. He introduced two bold policies: Glasnost, that's openness, and Perestroika, that's restructuring. Glasnost allowed people to speak their minds for the first time in generations. Suddenly, newspapers wrote about corruption, people debated politics in public, and long-buried truths about Stalin's purges, they came to light. Perestroika aimed to reform the economy, loosening the grip of central planning and allowing a bit of capitalism to seep in. But here's the twist. Instead of saving the Soviet Union, these reforms unleashed forces that would rip it apart. By 1989, the empire was trembling. Across Eastern Europe, Soviet-backed communist governments were toppling like dominoes. In Poland, the Solidarity movement rose. In East Germany, the Berlin Wall, symbol of the Cold War, it fell as people smashed it with their bare hands. For decades, Moscow had crushed revolts with tanks, but this time, Gorbachev refused to send the Red Army. The world gasped. The Iron Curtain was gone. Inside the USSR itself, the republics grew restless. Lithuania, Latvia, and Estonia, they demanded independence. In Georgia and Armenia, crowds filled the streets, waving their flags and chanting for freedom. Nationalism spread like fire in dry grass. Then came August 1991, the breaking point. Hardline communists, furious at Gorbachev's reforms, staged a coup. They put him under house arrest in his vacation home in Crimea. Tanks rolled into Moscow, soldiers surrounded government buildings, and it seemed the old guard was back. But something remarkable happened. Thousands of ordinary Russians poured into the streets, building barricades and facing down the tanks. At the center of it all stood a bold figure, Boris Yeltsin, the president of Russia. He climbed a tank, megaphone in hand, and called on the people to resist. His defiance electrified the crowd. Soldiers, instead of firing, joined the protesters. The coup collapsed in just 3 days. The damage, though, was fatal. Gorbachev returned, but he was weakened, irrelevant. The republics no longer believed in the Union, and one by one they declared independence. Ukraine, Belarus, Kazakhstan, Uzbekistan, until 15 nations were born. On December 25, 1991, Gorbachev appeared on television, weary and resigned. He announced his resignation and the end of the Soviet Union. That night, over the Kremlin, the red flag with the hammer and sickle was lowered for the last time. In its place, the tricolor of Russia rose into the cold winter sky. And just like that, the mighty USSR, once the rival of the United States, the architect of Sputnik, the power behind the Cold War, he was gone. It didn't fall in battle, not from bombs or invasions, but from within, undone by reforms, by freedom, by the voices of its own people. I'd like to know your thoughts in the comment section. For more stories like this, please like, share, follow, and subscribe.